Welcome to EPG Padashala. I am Dr. Syamala, Assistant Professor in Philosophy, Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Payyanur Regional Centre, Kerala. Today, here in this paper on Indian religion and philosophy, we will deal with the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The important points to be discussed in this topic are significance of Indian Renaissance movement in the 19th and 20th centuries, and we will have a brief look into the biographical sketch of Sri Ramakrishna, and then we will have his Gospel of Religious Harmony, and finally we will look into the message of Sri Ramakrishna. As you all know, Renaissance in India during the 19th and 20th century was a result of social, economic, political and religious conditions which had developed over a long period of time. As you all know, Renaissance thinkers cherished the ideal of spiritual nationalism, and they propounded the message of internationalism and humanism. Humanism, as you all know, is a philosophy, man-centered philosophy, and this gave importance to man and his dignity. Renaissance in India also signifies the revival and integration of the past and awakening of the genesis of Indian tradition and culture. And none of the modern thinkers had, in their search for modernity, cut themselves from the mainsprings of Indian culture and tradition. Instead, they laid great emphasis to build their foundations of change on old Indian traditions, because they realized that self-realization was needed to provide a solid ground. Thus, they presented us with a blueprint of better society, a more wholesome world, and a further lives as individuals. Now, let us move on to a brief biographical sketch of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. You might be knowing that he was born in Kamarpur, West Bengal. Kamarpur is a small village in West Bengal, and he was born in 1836 as a son of Kshudrim Chattopadhyaya and Chandra Devi, and his original name was Gadadhar Chattopadhyaya. Ramakrishna had an intensively spiritual streak from his very early years. Occasionally, he would go into a spiritual trance and temporarily lose consciousness. He did not go to school as he was averse of formal schooling, but he knew the epics and Puranas well. He also had good memory and strong common sense. Here in this picture, we can see Ramakrishna's hut in Kamarpur. In 1853, we see that his brother called him to Calcutta, where he was serving as a temple priest in the Kali temple at Dakshineshwar. And by the death of his brother in 1856, he became the sole priest of the temple. This was one occupation that allowed Ramakrishna to indulge in what he loved the most, that is, immersing himself in intense meditation and other spiritual rituals that would take him closer to God and God realization. Here we see the picture of Kali temple in Dakshineshwar, Calcutta. He craved to see God face to face, and he sought to have a vision of Goddess Kali. For this, he advanced fearlessly along the hazardous path pointed out to him by his own unsophisticated mind. When he did not have the vision of Kali, the goddess, for some time, he became frustrated and threatened to kill himself with a ritual dagger normally held in the hands of the goddess. And when he rushed frantically to put an end to his life, all of a sudden the mother's grace descended upon him. And it is said that he used to have the feeling of the breath of goddess Kali in the temple when he used to put his finger below the nose of that idol. It's really unimaginable in this century when we are living in this materialist pursuit of life. And let me make it more clear that he asserted that his sole aim in life was to know the ultimate reality, and Mother Kali's grace was descended upon him, and later Mother Kali granted him his vision as and when he wanted it. But there was a problem related to it. As time passed, Ramakrishna's behavior seemed to be more and more eccentric, and hoping to curb his mental instability, his mother decided to get him married, as she felt that celibacy could be causing him problems. And at the age of 24, he got married to Sharada Devi. You can find a picture of Sharada Devi here in this. After that, he tried various paths to reach God, even after his marriage. And his first guru was Bhairavi Brahmani, who taught him yoga and tantras. She concluded that Ramakrishna's behavior was a spiritual madness and nothing else. So, thereafter, people treated him with more respect. The next important guru to Ramakrishna was Thodaburi, who gave him or who communicated to him the essence of Advaita. According to some thinkers, it was Thodaburi who gave the name Ramakrishna and also the surname Paramahamsa. And it was during this period, under this guru, Ramakrishna experienced a deep form of trance, referred to as, we usually say as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And that is a complete absorption of the soul in the divine occasion of consciousness. Having tried Hinduism in all aspects, he tried Christianity and Islam and found that the essence of each religion was the same. He went further and applied the timeless laws of spiritual domination in seeking God through other religions also. Here he found that all the paths led him to the same experience of divine bliss or ultimate reality. Hence, he proclaimed that all religions of the world were essentially one, and all of them were different paths leading to the same goal. Later we see that Sharada Devi, who he had left in her place, came to Calcutta and joined him. And then he taught her and taught her everything he had learned, and he worshipped her as a universal mother. Later, she was also recognized as a realized soul. I don't know how many of you know that Keshab Chandra Sen was the person who gave the widest publicity to Ramakrishna's teaching. He had so many other disciples also, but he appointed his disciple Narendranath, popularly known as Swami Vivekananda, as his torchbearer. You can have a look into the picture of Swami Vivekananda also here. Ramakrishna singled him out as a future educator of mankind, but we see that he often clashed with Ramakrishna. But secretly, he admired the character of Ramakrishna. He was not impressed with Ramakrishna's mystic experiences, as he thought that they were all mere hallucinations. Yet, Ramakrishna, the man, attracted him. It was in 1885 that Ramakrishna was detected of having throat cancer, and in 1886 he breathed his last. 3 or 4 days before Ramakrishna passed away, he called Naren or Swami Vivekananda along his side and passed on to him all his powers. Vivekananda grasped the deeper imports of Ramakrishna's life and propagated the deeper imports of Ramakrishna's life all over the world. He says in Ramakrishna, the highest expression of divinity in the humane plane, a combination of the intellect of Shankaracharya and the heart of Buddha and Chaitanya. And in order to spread the message of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda and other disciples established the Ramakrishna Math. Their mission is even now trying to carry out the message of Sri Ramakrishna to the different corners of the world. As Socrates' idea was known through the dialogues of Plato, we can say that the teachings of Ramakrishna are known through the speeches of Swami Vivekananda. Here we had a brief look into the biographical sketch of Sri Ramakrishna, and now we will pass on to his Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel of Religious Harmony. In the tradition of ancient Indian philosophy, he preached monism. According to him, reality is one, although it manifests itself in different ways and different places. And the life of Ramakrishna was a laboratory for the synthesis of great religions. He believed that all religions of the world were true and anyone may lead to salvation. He preached that the essentials of all religion are the same, though they may give us different aspects, and he tried to give us this or explain this through the help of some small stories. In Sri Ramakrishna's view, the existence of many sects and religions does not stand as obstacles in the way to realization, but they actually help us in the realization of universal religion. With the disappearance of sectarianism, the ideal of universal religion can be realized. One must choose the path best suited to himself and stick to it with unwavering determination. And this steadfast devotion is called Nishita, according to Sri Ramakrishna. He insisted on perception of truth from different angles and perspectives. He realized that all religions of the world are different manifestations of one eternal religion. The spirit of Catholicity and tolerance is the essence of the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. He was insisting the oneness of all existence, which was the message of Vedanta. His ideal of universal religion enables religion to work for human welfare. With this, we will sum up the religious harmony, philosophy of religious harmony of Sri Ramakrishna. And now we will move on to the message of Sri Ramakrishna, which was spread by Swami Vivekananda as well as Ramakrishna Mission. As we all know, Sri Ramakrishna based his teachings on Vedanta, which taught the unity of Atman and did not recognize any distinction between man and man. He experienced the truth of Vedanta actually. He simplified and straightened up the whole idea of spirituality. According to him, Vedanta tries to harmonize the various religions and the various methods of realizing the nature, which is also realizing the God. It is well known that Sri Ramakrishna explored in his own life all the varied approaches to the supreme realm of external wisdom. Every form of religious faith unfolded to his vision a new world of spiritual significance. According to him, religious fellowship will bring in the sense of human kinship and brotherhood and enable the collective wisdom and effort of man to work towards evolution and complete civilization of humanity and world. And as you know, Sri Ramakrishna was a prophet of contemporary India who experienced the truth embedded in Vedanta, which is the philosophy, which was his philosophy and also the religion. We can see in Vedanta philosophy, which is a repository of all spiritual ideas, an emphasis on several key ideas. But the basic two ideas of Vedanta are the oneness of the entire universe, that is Brahman, and the divinity and uniqueness of the self, Atman. You all know Shankaracharya told us, Brahmam Satya, Jagat Mithya. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, which says that there is no difference between the Brahman and Jiva or the soul, and Brahman is the only reality. And here we see that Vedanta tries to harmonize the various religions and especially the various methods of realizing the real nature of man, which is also, according to him, realizing the God. So, while we are realizing the nature of man, we are always trying to realize God. And so, we can see that there is a special reference to service to man, that Vedanta, both as a philosophy and as a religion, renders to the religions of the world. Sri Ramakrishna, as I told you before, tried to straighten and simplify the idea of spirituality, and his spiritual experience resulted in the practical philosophy applicable today to today's life also. He held that seeing Brahman or God in all things is the last word of sadhana. This takes us to the dictum of divinity of man, which is nothing but the reassertion of the truth of Vedanta. He asserted that service to man was the highest form of worship, and his God-centric humanism was unique, and he thought to respect the dignity of man. For him, all women represented divine motherhood on earth, and he uplifted the idea of womanhood to the spiritual plane. Every woman was a mother to him because all of them were veritable image of Shakti. The deep sense of respect for woman that sought to inculcate was an essential precondition for the success of any effort aimed at elevation of women's position in the society. Through his consort, Sharada Devi, he presented his own ideal of womanhood. Sri Ramakrishna, by his life and precepts, brought home once again to the modern world the relevance of spiritual life. He rediscovered and revitalized India's eternal message of humanism and universalism. He upheld spiritual idealism as a goal of man and society. The message and teachings of Ramakrishna are reaching out to the whole different corners of the world through the works and services of Ramakrishna Mission. To sum up the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna and his message and his gospel, we can just have a briefing of it through these words. And Ramakrishna said categorically, religion is not for empty stomach. And actually, this formed the bedrock of Swami Vivekananda's philosophy when he was giving his spiritual humanism. And though he did not contribute directly to the ideas of economic and political freedom, we can read a flash of socialistic principles from the sayings of Sri Ramakrishna. He rediscovered and revitalized India's eternal message of humanism and universalism and made it a property of mankind. According to him, through self-control, self-discipline, and self-purification, man can realize his divine nature. And he says that by this method, even the most degraded person can be pushed towards perfection. This continuous process of inner growth towards the perfection is the essence of practical Vedanta. And this formed the basis of practical Vedanta or Neo-Vedantism of Swami Vivekananda. Actually, this Neo-Vedantism is, what can we say, it's really demanding or putting this Vedanta according to the needs and demands of the time, which was put forward by Swami Vivekananda. And basically we say that this Neo-Vedantism is the philosophy of when we say the net essence of Swami Vivekananda, we say it is Neo-Vedantism, because he raised the principles of Vedanta according to the, or he interpreted Vedanta according to the needs and demands of time. And Sri Ramakrishna's deep concern for men demanded a change in the contemporary society's outlook of man. Though he did not consider individual and self-isolation, he stressed on individual rather than society. He was essentially a believer in human development, and he considered material development only coming in an adjunct to the development of man. He aimed at the growth of goodness inherent in man, leading him to the realization of the divinity already in man. This divinity in man is already present in him. We have to realize it, that's all. We see that the teachings of Ramakrishna transcended religious barriers. That is his gospel. Their relevance did not remain confined to religious sphere only, but was applicable to every sphere of life. Its practical value in a multicultural and multi-religious country like India was inestimable during his time. It is of greater value and significance even today, as cultural integration is a major problem of modern India. The teachings of Ramakrishna and the inimitable way in which he underlined the hollowness of communal dissension provide solid bedrock on which the edifice of secularism can effectively be built up in modern India. Actually, secularism is a misunderstood word, I think. Secularism means not keeping away from religion. It is only keeping away of religion in the public affair. We will have to keep religion as a private affair. Here, this is what we can see in the philosophy of Ramakrishna also. Sri Ramakrishna upheld spiritual idealism as a goal of man and his society. He pointed out that realization of God was the essence of religion and the aim of human life. With the rise of materialism, which was a result of the scientific and technological development in the 19th century, religion was about to lose its hold on society. But we all know that India being a religious country, we cannot altogether give up religion. So, Ramakrishna's message of spiritualism is really relevant even today. Rightly did Mahatma Gandhi remarked, Sri Ramakrishna's life, the story of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's life, is a story of religion in practice. His life enables us to see God face to face. No one can read the story of his life without being convinced that God alone is real and that all else is an illusion. You might be familiar with a small story which says that when Vivekananda asked so many religious people about, have you ever seen God? Everybody told him no. But it was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa who said to him, yes, I have seen him much clearer than you. Here we see that he always had seen God face to face. He demonstrated his own life that God, the ultimate reality, can be realized, and then only human life becomes really meaningful. To conclude, we can say that Ramakrishna's ideas were relevant not only for his age, but also to the modern world marked by the coexistence of atheism, materialism, as well as baseless superstition and religious formalities. Sri Ramakrishna denounced the religious sectarianism, narrowness, fanaticism, exclusiveness, which characterized much of the Hinduism of the day. He urged people to free themselves from such limitation so that religion could once more realize the true function of promoting peace, harmony, and understanding between people among the world. Ramakrishna's reassertion of the very essence of Hinduism in his own unique way and the supreme importance he gave to all religions as they lead to the same goal, which is God, were his most significant contribution to the Renaissance movement of India. We can see that Swami Vivekananda was not exaggerating when he said that without studying Ramakrishna Paramahamsa first, one can never understand the real import of Vedas, the Vedanta or Bhagavata or other Puranas. His life is a searchlight of infinite power thrown upon the whole mass of Indian religious thought. He was a living commentary to the Vedas and to their aim. He had lived in one life the whole cycle of national religious existence of India. Here, in these words of Swami Vivekananda, we find the net philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna. The foundation of Ramakrishna mission and its multifarious social, cultural, educational, and humanitarian activities since its inception are a testimony to Ramakrishna's significant and lasting contribution to Indian awakening. The mission has successfully demonstrated the spiritual values of the noble method of divine worship through service of suffering humanity. The strength of Ramakrishna movement is not in money or men or organization, but the ideas it tries to present. Thus, the ideas of Sri Ramakrishna are reaching out to the far corners of the world through their inherent strength. To sum up, we can say that India is a land of spirituality, and great men and women of India tried hard to give us a message of spirituality and the way for spiritual realization. Sri Ramakrishna actually is one such person, and he, through his life, gave us the message of spirituality, and he told all the people who came to him that God is realizable. And this God realization is the actual aim of life, and it is possible in this life itself through the service of mankind. Humanism versus religion and service to mankind. Humanism versus God and service to mankind is religion. And this sums up the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Thank you. And all these things are given in detail in the e-text. You can refer it and other books given in it for your further studies. Thank you.